always being in a learning mode can help you boost your content creation as well. I learn one new thing, I try it out, and I see how that goes for me, and my content just gets better and better and better. So it's like pick your platform and then be a student of that platform.
Hi, it's Richard. Welcome to the Conscious Marketer Podcast, and joined by Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hey.
And today, our topic is omni-channel marketing versus single-channel marketing, and kind of what the future portends. Because it seems like every year there's a new channel that arises and falls. They kind of come up and down. And then on the other side of that, it seems like when we look at a lot of the big creators, that a lot of them have one channel that's like their main focus, and then they've gone like really deep. So I used to have a kind of a Taoist mentor, and he'd be like, dig one well really deep, then 5 shallow wells, because you're never going to hit, the water down below.
That's awesome.
And he said that the secret to great success was dig one well deep and then move on to the second well. But what most people do is they dig a shallow one, and then they're like, there's no water here. And then they start the second well, and then they go down a bit, and then there's no water here. And so they're on their third or fourth well, but they don't realize that they were only like 20 feet away on the first well, and they just needed like another 3 or 4 months, and then it would have started to pay off. I kind of like that analogy for the different posting platforms, because I think all of them have a different kind of nature, and then there are certain platforms that will be suited to you, but then whichever one you choose, it definitely takes some time to get some traction on that platform and to really learn its nuances. And my sense is there's this idea now that you should be everywhere with you should just create one piece of video and then shoot it out to like 17 different platforms. But the reality that I see personally is that most of the creators out there, they have one platform that they just really rule it. They rock it. It could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be YouTube, it could even be just their podcast. Some people are just podcast people, and they just do really well with that one platform. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts on this are, Kylie, because you've been around as long as I have.
Yeah. Well, I think it is important to have like one primary channel and then one secondary channel, just in case something happens and you get shut down on one of them. You don't always want to put your eggs in one basket, but you also don't want to try to be everything to everybody and everywhere. And I think that discovering what medium you prefer is a really good way to decide which platform to use. I tend to be a long form copywriter. That's been what I've done all my career, is write really long ads, really long social posts. And the best platform for that is really Facebook. Other people have been successful on platforms like Medium. I've never gotten involved in it. I know a lot of people have cracked the code on Medium and figured out how to become a paid author and get a lot of people to see your stuff. I can't really speak to that, but if you like to write long form copy or you like to write, Facebook is a really good place to do that. I know there's a lot of hate on Facebook, but at the same time, it has been and continues to be the most used platform in terms of there's 3 billion active users on there, and no other platform has that many active users.
I would say it's also true that there is like people are writing for X and Substack, and there are other platforms. And sometimes that there's like a market fit, like somebody writing on X might have a different type of market they're serving to. So sometimes you have to look at the types of people that are on the different platforms. So if you're in a different type of market, then it could be true that like on some markets, you can't even post on Facebook. So I would say it could go both ways. That I think in the past, I think Facebook has been, especially for writers, like you said, has been one of the primary ones. And it could switch. I just want to be open that it could switch in the future, and that there could be other things that come up too. But I agree that Facebook was really the first platform that helped you to buy your market. You could literally like target your exact demographic and then reach the people you needed to reach, and then form groups around that. before Facebook, that didn't really exist. In fact, I remember when they first started to put the ads on the timeline. It's kind of funny because I was in Durango, California with Jeff Walker. Actually, it's super funny. And I had figured this out and started to advertise on Facebook. I was one of the first people. And Jeff came up and he said, "Could you teach us?" I was like, "Well, it's so new. I don't really know I can teach anything, but here's kind of what I'm doing." I share it with a few people there. If I was smarter back then, I probably would have started a Facebook ad agency and made a lot of money, but I was just using it for my clients at the time. But back then, we would advertise on the timeline, and I'd get these nasty messages like, "Would you get off my timeline? This is my timeline." Before that, you couldn't advertise. And so people were like viscerally upset that there was an ad on their timeline and they didn't realize how I got there. A year later, that had kind of all switched and people had figured out that that was the new normal now, but what it did, I forgot the exact date, 2012 or 13. What it did was it allowed us actually to really target in and actually reach the exact client. And so not only was it a good writing platform, but you could actually zero in on the exact clientele that needed your services. And so that, and in the past, there was no other way that you could have done that. Like pre-internet, where you're going to like run ads in like the phone book, or you couldn't afford to buy TV ads. And it literally opened up the whole world to small businesses, especially, and solopreneurs. Most people don't realize this, but it was the advent of direct-to-consumer brands, because before you had to have a lot of money to get like a new product in front of people. You had to buy TV advertising, or you had to give away a lot of the profit to some distribution channel. And so a lot of the direct-to-consumer brands like Warby Parker sunglasses, Viore is a clothing line. There's probably like 100 brands that became $1 million or multi-million-dollar brands, even billion-dollar brands, because for the first time ever, like these smaller brands could go straight to the customer. So I think it's a combination of being a good platform for writing and going deep with it, for Facebook at least, and then reaching customers. And I think we're seeing similar types of things with YouTube and X and whatever. But what I think it's quite rare to find somebody that can go across all the platforms, because like Mr. Beast might be the one that is able to do it now because he's so huge. And if you don't know Mr. Beast, you can go on, like his videos get 100 million views on YouTube, which is extraordinary. You can kind of discount him because of his name, but never before has there been, like, the Super Bowl doesn't get 100 million views. So this guy publishes on YouTube, gives away a lot of money, makes millions of dollars, and he has 100 million views on each new release. And what he's done is he's used his creator status to leverage it into a chocolate line, which I think is awesome, called Feastables, right? I mean, this is amazing. This guy's 22 years old. He's going against Hershey's with Feastables by going direct to the customer. In fact, I was in Galway, Ireland, just this last week. And his second brand is called Beast Burger. And somebody must have bought the license to Mr. Beast Burger. And there was a Mr. Beast Burger in Galway, Ireland. I mean, this is totally crazy. You couldn't make this up. And that's all because of the platform that he developed on YouTube. Now, if you asked Mr. Beast like a couple years ago, what other platforms are you on? He's like, I can't speak for him, but I'm going to speak for him. He would be like, none, I'm on YouTube. YouTube's my thing. I live it. Like, he went all in on YouTube. And if you listen to some of his stuff online, you'll hear him repeat, my thing is just to make the greatest videos on the planet that people want to watch. And he just repeats that. He never veers off that formula. But he hasn't hacked that formula. He's spent 20,000 hours on that platform creating the best videos he can. And now he's literally the best in the world. Even shows like Oprah, and like if you think of the top, like Super Bowl, Oprah, they don't get the views that Mr. Beast gets. So it's a phenomenon, like you have to kind of give credit to this guy. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, we did a summit in March of 2023 called the Video Short Summit. And we did interview some of the top creators that were making short videos. So that's a way that you could get involved in starting out on YouTube, because the shorts are super important to the long form content. You want to make short form content so that people want to watch all your long form content. And if you wanted access to the recordings of that, we can make those available as an offer to you for a pretty low price. So just hit me up if you're interested in watching all those interviews. But a lot of what I discovered as I interviewed the people for that summit is if you want to do good with video, tell great stories, even if it's a 15-second story. We had someone that we interviewed that went viral for sharing her story about hair loss during cancer. And she's been a viral video creator, and now she teaches people how to have confidence on video and to just be themselves and to go viral by being themselves. And to your point about Mr. Beast, I think that's all he does is be himself too. I saw a video that he made, maybe you saw it, where he went into like an underground chamber and lived there for a week or something like that. And I don't know what that was all about, but if you look at his titles, they're very intriguing. They're very straightforward and they're very intriguing. In fact, I encourage you to go to his platform and check out what he's doing. I had a client named Brendan Kane, who's really one of the top social media strategists on the planet. He did social media for Taylor Swift when she was starting out. He did Rihanna, Yahoo, Katie Couric. He's got all these big clients. And one of the things that he says, in fact, I saw an ad of his yesterday on my Instagram feed, and he was talking about how with content marketing, you're not just competing with the people in your direct niche, you're competing with Mr. Beast. He specifically said that. And all of the other people, because there's over 60 billion pieces of content that are uploaded on the internet every day, and you're vying for attention with all of those different brands that are out there. And so it does make sense to kind of go all in on one platform and build a following there. I've built a following with no video and never make videos. I don't feel like making them. My first video was so bad. I used to do more lives onto my Facebook timeline and into our Facebook group, and that was really fun. It's not that I am bad on video, I just don't enjoy it, so I don't do it. But I write long posts on Facebook, and I've built a following even just from my personal page, and it's possible to do that if you're consistent about adding people and you participate in groups and you post on your own timeline or wall or whatever they're calling it this day. It's very easy to build a following there as well. Or you can go to YouTube and kind of crack the code there. Or as Richard mentioned, you can go to X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it these days. Call it either one. It's kind of like Facebook is meta now, but nobody says it. But if you really get consistent, and we're not talking about like Mr. Beast had this girlfriend who apparently broke up with him because all he did was work. You don't have to be that way. You can spend 30 minutes a day creating content that people will love. I'm always in a mode of learning, and I was taking this course by a guy named Cole Schaefer, and Cole Schaefer helped to market a cookie company that the cookies now sell for $125 a box because of how good his marketing was. So instead of naming the cookies peanut butter, he knew that Madonna liked peanut butter, so he named it the Madonna, and he told this whole story about Madonna, and that was the cookie description. And one of them, he called it the James Dean. And he told this story about how little Jimmy Dean had a pimply face, and the girl he was in love with dated the captain of the football team instead. And then when he became famous, that was like her biggest regret in her life. And that was a cookie description. And because I bought his course on Black Friday. It was the only thing I bought on Black Friday, probably in like 4 years. And it's this 40-page document that you read. And he's like, you get to be a good writer from reading, so I'm not making any videos. And it was this 40-page document. And I studied it and I learned from him, and I decided to implement just one thing that I learned from that course. And I made a post that it got over 100 comments, and people were just like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. This is amazing. And so always being in a learning mode can help you boost your content creation as well. I learn one new thing, I try it out, and I see how that goes for me, and my content just gets better and better and better. So it's like, pick your platform and then be a student of that platform.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And yeah, so if you see if you can, I don't know if fall in love is maybe a little bit strong, but like, I think if you really disliked all the platforms, find the one you dislike the least, hopefully your best there and choose that. But yeah, every platform has creators that are just knocking it out of the park and doing really well. And so find one and then go all in and really find a way to be of service and to give away value on one of those platforms, and then go deep. And I think that the stakes for impact are quite high. Like Mr. Beast went really deep with YouTube, but now he's like the top TikTok guy, and and less so on Facebook. He's not there. But so he's got like 2 or 3 channels that he's just rocking, and now he has Mr. Beast Philanthropy, and he has his burgers, and he's probably going to do a gaming. He's probably going to create a video game here pretty soon, and so he's literally going to be like the next Richard Branson, where he's just branching out into all these different creative things, literally from a platform he doesn't own, and he's just literally, his whole job is to create interesting videos that give value to people and entertain. That's it. Like, this is his whole job. So it's quite extraordinary what he's done, I think. And most platforms have, if he's not your person, that's cool too. Find other people. But there's top therapists I follow a couple of therapists both on Instagram and YouTube. There are therapists with millions of followers. So you can go into your niche and look at and see like which platform on Instagram, Facebook, X. X is coming up too. They're putting a lot of community features in there for certain markets. It's really growing, but go deep. And then once you go deep on one and you figure out the game, then you can kind of like think, okay, how do I leverage this to a second platform? Or how do I do paid ads on the same platform or a different platform? But go deep first. And then I think it's more, kind of coming back to the subject, we want you to be omni-channel, but be single channel first, or maybe single channel with a secondary as a backup, but then go super deep with that first channel. And then that gives you the option to be multi-channel. But I think most people are like, oh, I'm going to go multi-channel and create a video that I haven't spent days thinking about and creating. And then I'm going to post that video that I really haven't put the time and effort into across all the different channels. And I'm going to outsource it to AI or somebody in the Philippines to cut it up for me. No, like, this is how people are thinking. I hear this all the time. And then that's how I'm going to build my movement. And I'm like, yeah, like you do that. And let's see how that works for you. I don't think that's going to work out too well. So not to be negative, and I'm not against AI. I'm not against people working overseas, but it's more the love you put in, the energy you put into the content. Like, I think that's the most important thing. And then I think there's other options that open up,
Absolutely. And you can take your content and put it on other platforms too. For example, I turned my Facebook post that went really popular into an email and just shot it out to my email list just for no reason, really. I wasn't trying to promote anything or sell anything. I hadn't emailed my list in forever. I never mail them. And I just sent it just for fun and entertainment. I got a lot of messages back from people that were like, that was so cool. I love what you had to say. It's such a good email. And so you want to leverage your creativity to other platforms, but that doesn't mean you have to spend all your time there.
Yeah, it's a great point. So if you really put the effort on the one, then sometimes there are small tweaks to get that across other platforms. So make the base content, make the ingredients really good, and then it's much easier. But like that one post, you probably spent hours and hours and hours on, right, Kylie?
Yeah. Well, no, actually I didn't. I spent about 15 minutes on it because once I get a really good idea, the writing comes really well. And so I looked at his framework of selling those cookies, and those cookies sell for $125.
Yeah, but you had to read a 40-page book and go down
true.
the Black Friday
that is true.
rabbit hole.
Yes.
And
that took the time. The studying took the time. But once I study something and I see what the person is doing, I can usually mimic the technique pretty easily and with a lot of speed. And so I just thought about, I turned my relationship with marketing into a relationship with another human and went on and on about this relationship with this person. It was assumed to be a person. And then at the end, I showed that the person was marketing, and people were like, I read every single word and you really surprised me. And it's because what he was doing was taking this really brilliant idea and juxtaposing something that made no sense for a cookie into a cookie. And now those cookies sell for $125 a box, and the Kardashians eat them. And so I was like, okay, this guy's doing so. And he did the same thing with boots. So he loves this boot company. It's like read something or other. And I saw him speak on stage a couple months ago. So that's where I became familiar with him. And he wanted to work for this boot company. And so he wrote them an ad and then put it on LinkedIn and just asked everybody on LinkedIn to share it with the company if they could. I don't know if he ever got that client as a copywriting client, but he said he opened the ad with both my dad and my grandfather were both farmers. And the only thing I regret about their very honest career is that they never wore these red fin boots. And then he went on and talked about all the things that he did in the boots. Like he met his girlfriend in the boots, and he wrote his first song on his guitar in the boots, and he was going on.
I don't want to know everything he did in the boots. That's for sure.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was genius. It was it was the best ad I've ever heard in my life. And I started thinking, what he's doing is he's taking things that kind of are out of context and he's putting them together, and he's highlighting the product as the hero of the story. And it was really, really brilliant. And so I did have to study for a long time to come up with that post that took me 10 minutes to write. But if you stay a student of your craft, or a student of marketing, or a student of whatever it is that you love, you'll never run out of content ideas.
Where you activate the reticular activation system. So as you're moving through your day, you'll see things that would be appropriate to share with the audience too. So that kind of how it works.
Absolutely. It's so true.
Well, thanks for joining us on this episode. So dig your well deep. Make sure you go deep with something that you really are passionate about and you love. Give good value, and then expand outward. It's kind of the thing. So go single channel, then later go omni-channel. May everybody who's listening to this have 1/10 of the success of Mr. Beast, because he's been amazing, and may you also have the gift of Kylie's copywriting and storytelling magic too. And find your own way. I think that's when you get out there, you got to find your own path a little bit, and it's worth it. You'll be able to inspire and bring in people that you can serve deeply. Thanks so much for listening to the Conscious Marketer podcast again. We love being in relationship with you. Make sure you head over to consciousmarketer.com, sign up for our email list. We have an active community of over 50,000 people now. So we're growing. And 2014 is going to be our year where we actually start to develop a little bit more of our YouTube channel. So I think Mr. Beast has inspired us with his reach and everything that he's doing a little bit more. So we're going to stay on Facebook, and I know Kylie, you're on Instagram quite a bit too. And then we'll be developing our YouTube channel as well as posting this podcast on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.